Welcome, everybody. Thursday, week's almost over. Right before the stream started, I live not far from train tracks. The camera was shaking, and I was ready to warn people that I'm not in an earthquake, nothing wrong with your screen, just a train going by. As we're waiting for more people to trickle in, where's everybody tuning in from? I'm in Langley, BC. Curious to see where everyone is. I've also got my coworker Masood on the call. Won't be showing his face, but he'll be in the comments answering any questions that anyone has as we're going through things. While I'm doing the demo stuff, I won't really be looking at comments, but Masood will be there to answer any questions for you. And he's in Toronto, recently moved, not long ago. Used to be in the same area, Vancouver area, and now he's on East Coast, New Jersey, more East Coast, very cool. All right. Give it a few more minutes here. I do thank you for showing up. Competing with Canva Create is happening right now as a webinar, a very big event. So thanks for being here. Don't leave, please. It's probably way more exciting because the production value, but please, I beg you, stay here. All right, I'm gonna kick it off here. I will not forget to turn off the music this time. Boom. Okay, so let's just get into some slides first. I promise I'll try not to bore you with slides, and then we'll go into some live demo stuff. So I guess first, this is Browse AI 101, in case you're not sure where you are. This is really just understanding the basics. Not going to dig in too deep. It's really just kind of surface level for beginners who don't really know what's going on or maybe want a better feel. Nothing too deep today. And who am I? My name is Nick Simard. I'm a product marketer / customer education specialist here at Browse AI, and I've been here since August of 2023. Before that, I worked at Zapier for 7 years. So I started as a customer champion and then went into customer success and then became a community manager. So in those years, I touched all the apps and just got into no code and automation and AI. And a fun fact, I actually bought the original Browse AI lifetime deal years ago before it was even on my radar as a company to work at. I just thought it was a cool product. And so it's very cool that I get to work here now. So that's a bit about me. Let's talk about Browse AI a little bit here. So Browse AI, as you're probably aware, lets you extract data from any websites without having to know how to code. So that's traditionally been one of the big obstacles is you need to know how to do code in order to do web scraping. And with Browse AI, that is gone. No need. You can monitor websites for changes automatically. So you set up a schedule and say, hey, can you check this website for the data I have specified? And then we'll do that on the schedule of your choosing. You can integrate your data into your existing tools. So we've got native Google Sheets and Airtable integrations, as well as Zapier, Make, Paddly Connect to get you to just about every other app out there. And those are some of the reasons we're trusted by over 500,000 users worldwide. And this is anyone from solopreneur, freelancer, to small, medium business, to enterprise. So we're a very flexible solution, self-serve options. And later in the presentation, I'll talk a bit about pricing and our managed services in case you don't really want to do all the work, but you just want all the data. So before I get into any more about Browse AI, I want to just clear up web crawling versus web scraping. It's not always clear what the difference is. So web crawling is more of a systematic approach where it explores and indexes the web. So primarily it's for search engines and web archives. It navigates through websites, follows links, and discovers and indexes new pages. So it's meant to kind of click through all the links and see what everything is. Web scraping, on the other hand, similar, but it focuses more on targeted data extraction from specific web pages. So you'd be scraping and collecting particular information like product details or pricing info, market research data, things like that. So you specify what you want to scrape from where, and then you just get that, as opposed to getting absolutely everything from every page. And Browse AI is a platform with a feature where you can scrape the data from web pages. So no coding required, and I will show first some terminology. So we're all on the same page. I promise I won't make it super long here, but just so we know what words we're using. So the robot is your automated assistant. That's what you train to extract and monitor web data. And we'll jump into Robot Studio in a bit to show you how to do that. But the robot is what you're training to go do the job for you. The origin URL, that's the starting web address where your robot begins to extract data. I say starting because you can start on a website and then train the robot to maybe click into something or do a search, which will get you to a search page. So it's the starting web address where you say, hey, go to this page. Input parameters. One of the most common ones is search. So as you can see in the screenshot, you search for something and that becomes an input parameter you can later use on this run task page here or via bulk run or automations. So that is an input parameter as well as the limit of items if it's a list of items that you want to scrape. Those are input parameters. They're variables you can change each time to run your robot. Task. The task is the individual data extraction job that the robot completes. So in the screenshot, this is the history. So each one of these is its own task. So the robot runs a task of going to scrape data for you. Credits are how you pay for tasks. That determines your usage limits on Browse AI. So in this example, 10 credits gets you 100 list items. So for many websites, list items, it's 1 credit gets you 10 list items. It varies anywhere from 8 to 12, depending on if it's a premium site or not, if it takes us more resources, if there's extreme bot detection, things like that. But roughly in your mind, it's 1 credit gets you 10 list items. So that's credits and they pay for your tasks. Bulk run is running multiple data extraction tasks by doing a lot of URLs at once. So rather than just one URL, you could do a multitude of them. Now, for the same structure of page. So it could be multiple properties, it could be multiple products that all have the same structure, and you run all those URLs rather than one at a time. And I'll show you that in a little bit here. Tables. Tables is inside of Browse AI. So you can view your data without having to export it or integrate with other apps. You can view it, organize it, export your data captured by your robots. So you can see your list items and you can see also just the text that you've captured, the static text you've captured. And I'll show you that in a little bit in the live demo. Monitors are where you automate the tracking of certain websites. So when do you want to track it? How often do you want to visit that site? The limit of items you want to scrape, and you can set up multiple monitors for the same website, or you can set up multiple monitors for different pages on that website, as long as it's a similar structure. So in this example here, it's Redfin. You could do one for Seattle, one for Portland, one for Boston, because those tend to have the same structure. So you don't need separate robots, and I'll touch on that in a little bit here. Deep scraping is one of those terms that people have multiple names for. We call it deep scraping, where you extract a list of items. So maybe it's a list of properties, and then you scrape each of those properties individual pages to get more details. So we do this in a 2-robot structure. So the first one gets the list of items, and the next one gets details from each item. It's not just one robot where you're training a robot to click in. That would get tricky and messy. We do it with 2 robots, and I'll show how that process works in a bit here. Robot Studio. Robot Studio is what you use to train your robot to scrape the data that you want. Browse AI began with a Chrome extension. It still does exist, but Robot Studio is what's being developed and updated to be the most up-to-date solution for you to scrape data. Sometimes the Chrome extension might do something a little bit differently, and if that works, great. But we do recommend in most cases Robot Studio, and that's what I'll be showing you in a bit here. So capture list. There's 2 things you can capture when you click on capture text. Capture list is when your target website displays things in a repeating pattern. So it could be different people or products or places, properties. You can usually tell what a list looks like. And I'll show you sometimes when it's not so obvious, but usually a list is very obvious, like in the screenshot. It's a repeating pattern of things. There's an asterisk there because you can capture a list from a page where you might be thinking you're going to capture just text. So it's not just choosing one or the other. Same with capture text. Usually it's static text. So from a detail page, like maybe a product name, a product price, a product description. But again, with the asterisk, because you might be thinking when you capture a list, I don't want text from that page. When you capture text, I don't want a list from that page. You can do both. And there's some cases where you might want to. So just be aware one is for lists, one is for text, but you can do each one on any page you want. Pre-built robots are robots that we have built for you, where we've refined them and chosen some of the more popular websites and use cases out there. And you can just use them as a starting point. So you usually just have to put in either a search term or a URL and click go. And then it just does the work for you, gets you the data that you probably want. It is fixed to what we have decided to provide there. So if it works, great. If not, you can build a custom robot using Robot Studio, which is what I will show you. But if you go to the Browse AI website and click pre-built robots, you'll see there's over 200 of them. So if one of these works for you, by all means, just get going with those. Workflows are what enable you to connect two robots to work together automatically. So deep scraping would be get a list of items, and then from each of those list items, get details from the single pages. A workflow is how you make this process work automatically. So when robot A runs, run robot B. And there's a filter in the middle that this decides when you want to proceed to robot B. And I'll show you that in a little bit here. But workflows are what automate the process of deep scraping. Integrations. We do have native integrations with Google Sheets and Airtable. And also, if you want to get to other apps, you could use Zapier or Pabbly Connect or Make. We also have AWS. There's a REST API as well as webhooks. I'm not going to touch too much into those. Just be aware that we have those, and there will be probably an upcoming webinar to dive into how those work and what they all are. All right, so that's the terminology, just so we're all on the same page of what the words are and what they mean. Few use cases. I know lots of you have different use cases than these, and I'm going to ask in a minute to provide some of those if you wouldn't mind. But some of the more common ones are competitive intelligence, so tracking pricing, features, marketing from maybe your competitors or even your own website, if you want to keep track of what's on your own website. Lead gen is a big one, market research, aggregating content from maybe multiple websites all on one topic. Real estate is a huge one for properties and also for real estate agents. It could be one for directories. LLMs is becoming a bigger one where the LLM will do most of the processing of the data and you just kind of give it the bulk. Here's everything. Now you tell me about my data. Before I jump into the live demo, let's hear from y'all. What is your use case? What are you guys using for using Presley AI for? Doesn't have to be super specific, but like generally speaking, I'm always surprised by at least one of the things that someone's doing. Nobody wants to share? Okay, give it a second here, and then I will just jump into the demo. All right, nobody wants to share that. That's fine. These are some of the more common ones, and I'm sure questions will come up later. Creating search lists from multiple sites to aggregate. Yeah, aggregation is a big one. The data's out there. If a database doesn't exist, you can make it yourself. All right, let's jump into the live demo of how Browser AI works. I'm going to toss you to this screen and focus on this one. So if anybody has questions, I won't be seeing them, but Masood is in the questions to answer. So this account of mine here has pretty much nothing in it. So we're going to start on the build new robot page. There's two options. You can extract structured data or monitor site changes. They both will get you into Robot Studio or Chrome extension if you choose it. But Robot Studio to train a robot, but monitor site changes will then just prompt you to build a monitor. There's not really any functional difference here. So I'm just going to start with extract structured data. And the origin URL, as I pointed out, this is where we want to start training the robot. So I'm going to use this handy dandy website that I love to use, Y Combinator. It's a startup directory of companies right here, Y Combinator / companies. And I've checked off one of the filters here. The thing I like about this site is when you click into a filter, it changes the URL. So that's a great way to get specifically what you want without having to train your robot to do this part. So I will copy this URL here. And this is the batch, like Winter 25 batch of companies. And I'm going to paste this into the origin URL. And you'll see the pre-built robots pop up down here. When we do offer a pre-built robot for the site you've pasted in, we'll show it down here. And if it works for you, great. Just click it, and then you save yourself the trouble of training. But I'm going to show you how to train our robots. This website does not need logging in, but if it did, you can check this box and log in with session cookies, which requires the Chrome extension, or log in with password. But I'm not going to do that here, and I'll start training robots. Again, you can use Chrome extension, but I would suggest using Robot Studio. And once this page loads, you'll see that it should look exactly like what I just was looking at here. And on the right-hand side, your robot kind of gives you guidance and instructions as you're going along. So, hello, I'm your robot. Hold on, let's wait for the web page to finish loading. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can always look over here, and you should be told step by step what's happening and what to do next. All right, just about there. And sure enough, it looks exactly like the page I just was on. So on this page, I can do a couple things. I can capture text, and then I'm asked, do you want to capture from a list or just text? When you do from a list, as I hover over items, you'll see what are lists that you might not necessarily think are lists. The obvious one is this one. So I hover over this list item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to click in. And when I do that, I don't have to pick which pieces of data. I don't have to name them. We're automatically doing that for you, scanning to see what the relevant data points might be. And there you go. If this is exactly what you want, you don't have to do anything else. You just come in here, name your list, choose whether you want to rename these fields and maybe remove them, but you don't have to make any decisions. If it's not exactly what you want, let's say there's something missing that didn't get captured, you can select manually instead. So you click select manually, and then you would click the list and then click each data point. But I'm going to go with this way because this looks pretty good to me. I may not want, let's say I want to rename this to just company. Press enter. I may not want the logo. So let's click here and remove column. Everything else is fine. You'll see right here, workflow available. So what this is saying is with this current robot, it looks like these might be pages to go to a detail page for these items. So it's suggesting, hey, there's a workflow available here where you could connect those two robots to do deep scraping, as I mentioned earlier. So it's kind of a little handy little visual indicator. And if you don't see that, maybe you should double check in case you are hoping you will be able to do that. Make sure you've got that URL that goes one level deeper. So I'm good with this data. Maximum number of rows, I will pick 100. I know there's 40 per page, just happen to know that. And how do you find the next item? So the robot's asking, how do I get to more items? It has determined it's click on load more to load more items. Let's review that. Is that true? It's actually not. It's scroll down. It usually gets that correct, but if it doesn't, I can just reselect this. So it's actually scroll down to load more items. A few of the options are click on next. That's a very common one. You click on a next button to go through pagination. Click on load more. It's also very common. Scroll down is common. Scroll up is less common. But if it exists and that's what yours is, then you can use this one. You can also choose to have no more items load. Maybe you don't want to use pagination, or maybe pagination says load more or view all, but it goes to a different page. And so it's not really pagination. It's a whole other page. So you can click no more items to load if you don't want to use it. But in this case, it's scroll down to load more. And I'm good to go. I've named my list. I will save captured list. So when I mentioned earlier that the asterisk of I don't just have to save a list from this page. I've captured it, but I could do other things. So I could capture just static text. This page isn't the greatest and most useful in terms of static text, but maybe I want to get the page description here and the page title. I could get that visible text. And maybe I want to show this, showing how many companies there were total. That might be handy for me. That's probably about it on this page, but you might have a page that has much more interesting information that you want to capture. So I'll press enter, and I do have to name these. When it's not list items and it's just static text, you do have to come through and name the items, for now at least. So let's call this page title and how many companies. I'll press enter. So now I see the list of companies and then the captured text, page title and how many companies. So I will save this as well. I don't have to be done. I can capture a screenshot, and I can do it by selections. So I can click selections, and then as I hover, it's similar to lists where it sees what pieces of the page I might want to capture. Or you could do the entire page. Maybe you just always want the whole page. You could do the visible part. So whatever the robot sees when the page loads, I'm actually going to do selections, and I'm going to hover over and get the companies here. So I just want this. I don't necessarily want everything else, but I'd love a screenshot of the companies. So call this companies screenshot. All right, I think that's good for now. Oh, I did want to point out also, you can remove stuff from this sidebar. So maybe I decided I actually don't care about the industry URL. That's not super handy. So I can remove it from there. And yep, everything looks good. So I'll click finish here. And Browser will automatically give you a name suggestion for the robot. YC companies list. Sounds good to me. I will keep that. And now you'll see what is going to happen. So the task is going to run in the cloud, on server in the cloud. And as this is going, you'll see a little preview here of what the robot is extracting. So it's opening Chrome, simulating user actions. So there's my list items. There's 52 so far. I said I wanted 100. 2 pieces of text. That's what I did for the capture text. So it's now got 100 list items, 2 pieces of captured text, and 1 screenshot. So it's finished successfully, and I can scroll down to see everything that I just asked for, all these companies here. If something is yellow, it means it wasn't there. It wasn't in that particular list item. And the captured screenshot. So already this is pretty darn cool and was super easy to do. Even if I did nothing else, I've now got all this data. So that's pretty awesome already. So I'll click yes, looks good. It does match what I was looking to do. And then see this recommendation. So just as in the robot studio, it's saying, hey, did you want to train another robot on this link here? So it's picked up one of the company's detail page links and says, did you want to train a robot to do this? I will in a minute, but not just yet. First, I want to show a bit more what's on this page. So you'll see the history here, a few history items. I've only got one, but this is kind of like an overview page. You can run a task as well as do an overview. So history, I can click into it and I can see more details. So I can see how many credits were used. So one credit on this website gives you 8 list items, and then it tells you how much each additional item will be, zero point 0.1 credits. So this can help you kind of budget how many credits you might need. So to do exactly what I just did was a little over 10 credits. So if you knew you wanted to do that daily, that gives you some easy math to do on exactly how much that robot's going to charge you in credits. Back on the run task page, you've also got monitors. We don't have any yet, but if you did, it would show them here. So you can keep an eye on that. And I realized I did forget to do something. I forgot to do a search to get that item in here, but I can do that in a minute. So let's run a task actually on a different page or different filtered view of that same website. So instead of W25, let's do, well, I can do a search here. I'll show you how to do a search term here. So I could do automation here. Not every website will do this, but this one happens to add it to the URL. So this is one way to do it. I can do a search and then get it in the URL and then come here and you'll see there's 41 companies in that search. So I will replace this with the new URL. I can save it as default if I want that to always be the default when I come here. In this case, I don't want it to be default. I just want to do it one time. And I can do 100 companies limit because there's only 41. So it won't do more than how many items there are. So let's run that task. So as an alternative to doing it this way, where I do the search and then paste the URL, it really is just a matter of, if I don't get around to showing you, when you're training the robot, you just do that search inside of the robot studio, and then you get a field on the run task page. And if you want to upload CSV, you get a field where you can put those search terms. It is a bit more efficient to do than what I just showed here, but this is one way to do it. And sure enough, 41 items. So that's a great way to do it if you happen to have the URLs. But you know what? I'll show you real quick. Why not? I'll just show you real quick how to do it with a search. Let's take the query out here. And I won't show you everything all over again. I just want to show you the difference. So let's say you had a list of terms and you don't want to paste in a bunch of URLs. You just want someone to come up with terms and then use those. So right here, I can search automation, then press enter. And you'll see here, page interaction, click, type, enter. So it knows that I have done that. And now I'll just capture a list real quick here. I won't bother editing or modifying anything. Keep it as it is. Let's do 100. Sure. Scroll down to load more items. So this time it knows, it figured out. Scroll down to load more items. Save captured lists. Confirm pagination and finish. With search. So it's entirely up to you which way you want to do this. If you're going to have someone else maybe come up with terms or use your account to just search, it's easier this way than having to go to the website and do the search and get the URL. So this is an easier way, but I guess it's cool to show you both. So you should see the same number of items, see 41, same number of items. And let's click yes, looks good. Now I've got this search box, so I could search something different. So if I came to this site and I took this off and I searched for AI, there's 147 companies in this batch with AI. So let's do AI. I'll leave it at 100 actually. So it won't get absolutely all of them, but it'll get 100 of them. The first one here is Pepper AI and then Senu. So let's see what this returns. Should be the exact same thing, just two different ways to do it. One builds what we call the input parameter into it, which is this one where you got the search you can put in, and the other one uses just URL. Two ways to accomplish the same thing. So there you go. Yeah, Pepper AI, first one. So, yep, that's the other way to do it. Everything looks good here. Let's go and build a second robot. Let's do it from, doesn't matter which one I do it from. They're both going to recommend to train on a URL they found. Let's do this one. So I'll do train another robot. Oh, sorry. One more thing from this page. Bulk run tasks is another thing you can do. You can also do it from tables, which is probably where I would recommend it. But you can download a sample CSV, which will tell you exactly what you need to provide, which will just be whatever's on this page. So you need to provide an origin URL, and for this one, a search term if you want it, and then the limit of companies. So you can do bulk run from this page where you upload a CSV, or you can do it from tables. And I'll show you that in a minute. So that is it for what you can do from here. Let's train a second robot that will get details from, which page is it having me do? Something pig / pig. Is that really what it? Yep, looks like this one. An API for automating Windows apps with AI. I mean, everything exists. If you've never been to Y Combinator's companies page, it is a hoot. It is being created out there. So one tip, as this page is loading, get everything from this single page that you would like to have in one view, in one data table. So just because I've already extracted the name and description and whatever else is on this first page, nope, this first page, I would rather have it all in one robot table so I don't have to go back and forth. So re-scrape those on this detail page. It doesn't cost you more credits to get more data items from a page. So I would just get more data rather than less. So now we're going to capture text and just text. So as you hover over, you'll see the little box around the data. So I want title, description. Let's do the batch. Something to note is slight mouse movements will change what is highlighted here. So I probably don't want, if I want the link, sure, I'll click link to this, but I don't think I want that. I want just the W25. So moving ever so slightly gets me exactly what I want. I will click on each of these. Let's get the year it was founded. So if I go over here, you'll see it gets the text founded. I don't want that text. So I move my mouse ever so slightly, gets me the year. I could get batch from here as well if I wanted, but I've already got it from over here. Team size and status, let's get from here. Primary founder, or sorry, primary partner. Nah, I don't need that one. I'll get the website though. And that might be it for static text. So let's press enter. Now I start naming these. Company name, description, batch. Okay, I'm leaving it no capital. Let's call this tag 1, tag 2, tag 3. They might be categories or labels or whatever, but as long as you know what you're referring to, I'll call this founded, and then team size and status and websites. Okay, so now I've got these pieces of data from the single page of this one company. Something else that might be a list, this may not be the best example because there's probably not more than one founder. But some things might be a list that you don't think are a list. I will just do it anyways. From a list, and then this is a list. I know, are you not? Maybe it shows up differently when there's more than one. I've seen some things on these pages that are lists that are handy. Not this time. Okay. So I will actually finish here. Once again, the robot will be given a name, company details. Sounds good. I'll just do YC company details. And I'll save this. Once again, you'll see that the task is in the queue. A server will run in the cloud, simulate my actions, and get the data that I have told it to get. I think they actually changed the design. It used to show up differently. Yeah, I don't know. I've done it in the past where it was a list of items for the founders. So that's an example of maybe you do want that, a list on a page that you thought you just wanted text on. Or if there's jobs, you could want that list of jobs. So you can combine static text and list items in whatever way you want. Let's just say list looks good. Okay, so now the recommendation is connect your two robots with a workflow. So that's what I mentioned earlier, where you've got a workflow that says when this robot runs, run this second robot. Not going to do that just yet. I want to first jump into tables. So let's go to tables for this robot first. So when it's not list items, you've got just this main tab. And the main tab will show each record here. Each row will be a separate task that has run. So you can see this one is for this company, Pig. Let's just do it for this one since I'm on it. Let's add a new row. This is one place to do it. Instead of the run task page, you can also do it from here. I could add a second one. Let's just add a second one. Let's go back to companies and click on amplitude. I could add another one and start extracting data. So I've added two rows here and I can start extracting data and you'll see the status. And as it runs, you'll see these fields get filled in here. So that's another place to do it besides the run task page. If you just had a handful that you wanted to copy and paste, which sometimes it might be faster to just copy and paste a couple than it is to worry about CSVs or integrations or automations. So here we go. So those two are done. Now, this compared to when there are list items. So in the company's list here, and go to tables. So there's still the main tab. So each task that ran, you can see the URL that it was, any search terms. You can click in either by hovering over here on the I. This one had 100 companies, this one had 41. You can click in here or go down here. I'll just click on this one. So this will show me now each of those list items. So again, you don't have to send your data anywhere else. You can view it all in here if that works for you. I'm going to show you how to do a bulk run, actually. Let's export the list of items from this page here. And the company link is what we're going to need for the second robot. So we do have that company link. So I'm going to export this as CSV. Download button will show up right here. All right, so I've downloaded that. And now I'll go to the second robot that gets me company details. And I'll go to tables. I can do it from here, but I'll go to tables and I'll import CSV. So instead of adding a new row manually, I'll import a CSV. You could download a sample, fill it out with what you need, but I'm going to show you this fast way. You export and then re-import. There is a bit of a snag, though, because it's looking for an origin URL. And if you'll remember, all of those list items came from the same original origin URL. But that's not what maps here. I want the company link. That's what actually I want it to go to. So done. So now everything's good. It's not going to the origin URL where we got all of the list items. It's going to each company's individual page. So it's up to you whether you want to download a CSV, fill it out, clean it, and then upload, or just do this where you export, import, and then specify which field it should be looking at. So now I will start extracting data. So when this happens, you can, again, view it here in the table as everything is being processed, or you can go to history, and you'll see that this is a bulk run here. This one was actually also technically considered a bulk run because we did two, but this one is a much bigger bulk run and done with a CSV. So you can click into this bulk run and see the process unfold, see the progress of each one of these items. Let's go to the last one, see what's happening. Okay, these are all added to the queue. Let's actually go to the main history page, and you can see the progress here if you want to keep an eye on it. You can filter by successful or failed or in progress if that's a way you want to view your task history to maybe narrow things down. You can also select some dates. You can do only tasks with detected changes. There's all kinds of ways to look at this page, the history page, to kind of troubleshoot or find exactly what you need. So this one is still going, but that is one way to do the bulk run. Let's build a monitor for, actually, no, let's do a workflow. Let's do a workflow to connect these two, and then I'll do a monitor. So I'm going to add a new workflow, and I like to name it such that it goes, well, you can see how I like to name it. It's already here. So YC list company details. So I know where I'm starting and what I'm going to be getting. So let's do the list. Let's do the list with the search, since that one's a bit more flexible. And then we'll go next step. Robot B is now the company details. And the origin URL that robot B is going to go to is company link. So make sure you name things well, because if you don't, you might see multiple, like industry link and sub-industry link are here. So if you don't name them properly, you might pick the wrong one by accident. So company link is the one I want. I'll click on next. And the filter option is when robot A extracts the company link, use it to run robot B. Always, so literally every time. Only if robot A finds changes, only if robot A finds new items while monitoring, or if it finds new or changed items. So depending how you're looking to use this robot, you can play around with these options. You may always want it to run, or you may only care about changes or new items. I'm going to keep always for the sake of the demo. And now you'll see more suggestions. Workflow's been created. Right now, nothing has happened or will happen. We've only said when robot A runs, run robot B. But robot A is running automatically. So I can either go run it with one task or bulk, like I just did, or I can create a monitor. So let's first create a monitor. And this will be for the first robot. So remember, the first robot is getting a list of items from a page like this. So let's build a monitor. Let's say I want to do every weekday at noon, my local time. I want to go to this particular page, and maybe I want to search something different. Maybe I want to search for finance, and let's say maybe I only want 25. So I can rename this to finance weekdays, just to keep myself clear on what it is this monitor is doing. I don't want to be notified by email if there's a change, and I'll click save. So that monitor will now run every day around noon automatically. So that is one way to kick off a workflow where this monitor will go and do its thing. I could set up a second monitor if I want for maybe this X25. I don't really know what X25 means. It's different than summer, winter, fall. But let's say I want to do this one, and let's say I want hiring. It's a silly example. Let's do this guy. And let's say I want to know who's hiring. Keep an eye on that. I can go back to monitors and build another one. And maybe I'll call this one hiring, and I'll change the URL to this. And I don't necessarily want a search term at all, and I don't want to be notified. So if the page is of the same structure, you don't need to build separate robots. I could see why you might think, oh, I got to train a robot for this different view, filtered or by search. Nope. Build separate monitors to go and do that. Now we've got a monitor. Let's go and actually run a task on this page so that we can get the workflow to run. So this workflow right here, let's get it to run by doing something with this first robot, which is the one with the search. So let's, for fun, let's go to fall of 24 hiring. So let's get this URL, go back here and paste it, and let's do a search for automation. Why not? See if anything comes up. So I'm looking for hiring in fall of 24 with a search of automation. If anything, hopefully something comes up, because otherwise my second robot won't run. Doing it live. Cool. There's at least 4 list items. That's good. So that means the second robot will run. Okay. So we've got these 4 list items. Let's go to the second robot and check the history to see. All right. So that's the progress of the one that we just did. And this is the 100 is finished 3 minutes ago. So this is the one we just did. Cool. So that workflow did work. It got the second robot to run. So already I think you're seeing how powerful it is with building robots, having some input parameters, adding some monitors, building some workflows to connect them to do some deep scraping. And lastly, I guess we've got integrations. I won't get into each of them, but just know that now that you've got this data coming in, you can send it somewhere else. You can send it to Google Sheets. Syncing to Google Sheets is as simple as authorizing your Google account, much like you would for any other app out there. You sign in with your account, and then you choose or create a new worksheet and sync changes or sync everything. And then you map the data. And we do have some other videos where we do some deep scraping and jump into that. Not this webinar, though. There'll be maybe a separate webinar entirely. Airtable is very similar. You connect your account and choose the workspace you want, or maybe you want all workspaces and then which base within that. And you've also got Zapier, Pabbly, and Make. If you want to send it to other apps, you've got webhooks, a REST API, and workflow, as you can see, is configured because we did add a workflow here. I think that is about it for the demo stuff. So let me drag you back onto my screen and go over to this page and see if there's any questions. Jeremy says, thanks for the lab demo. Yeah, I could do a whole webinar on when things don't go as planned, or you didn't do it the way you thought you should, or something shows up that maybe you're not expecting. Because that is as helpful, honestly, to see like, oh, okay, nothing's wrong. I just did it a certain way, and there's multiple ways to do it. Just reading Jeremy's comment here. That's a great question. Great time to plug. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing for the first time ever office hours. It's going to be a Google Meet. Myself and probably Mel, the head of marketing, where you can come and just literally chat with us as opposed to webinar with comments. You can just come and chat, turn your camera on or not, just use your voice and ask us questions, and we can maybe jump into some more details like this. But that's a great example of a question, and I will store it, and maybe that's content for another video or webinar. Speedboat robots are handy, but I can see how they can be confusing if you're not sure what to expect. So last piece, jump into some slides here about pricing. So with Browse AI, the nice thing is the free account isn't feature gated. You have access to all of the features. So you have workflows and integrations. It's just you get a certain number of credits and a certain number of robots on the free account. And for the self-serve options, as you go into the paid plans, you get more robots and more credits. So maybe it's single use, you want to extract data one time. The recommendation there is to go with something like the starter annual plan. So annual plans get you all the credits up front, which is nice. You don't get them just monthly credits, you get them all up front. So maybe you have a big use case and you just want to do it one time, and then you're done. And then you got a certain number of credits left for the rest of the year you can use. And that's about $228 for, this is Mel's math, I'm going to trust it, approximately 100,000 rows of data and 10 robots. You could have ongoing. Maybe you have an ongoing use case. Something like professional 5K would be maybe a better bet there. So month to month gets you higher limits, and you don't have to pay for the whole year up front. And maybe you don't need all the credits, but you need more for right now. And you can choose to do it monthly instead of having to commit to the whole year. And then finally, there is the professional 60K. So maybe you want to migrate from a different solution, or you've got just a ton of data and you want a lot of the credits up front and you want to just get all the work done. So going with higher plans gets you more credits, going with annual gets them all up front. Or beyond self-serve, there is our managed solution, managed services. So either you don't want to build all the robots yourself and you want us to do it, or maybe you want to clean up the data and it's a lot of work to do that after the fact. So we can help you do that. Or you just want us to build the robots and take care of the data and do everything hands off. You get everything kind of hand delivered to you. Or maybe you're fine with the robots once they're built, but you don't want to do all that work. So all these options where it's a bit more white glove, we help you out, we build some robots for you, give you some data delivery. It starts at $500 a month, paid annually, and you can talk to one of our salespeople to give some details on maybe your particular use case. And you can do that from the website. Request a demo. So that is an option if you don't want to just do self-serve. So lastly, are there more questions? Oh, Jeremy, sign up for office hours. Everybody on this call, and yeah, we'll send an email today with the link to that. It's an experiment. We've never done it. We'll see how it all works out with Google Meet. But yeah, it should be fun. I don't know how many people show up, but we're looking forward to having a bit more interaction and engagement and jumping into some specific use cases that anybody's got. Any questions? I can reread Jeremy's question here. Oh, Masood's got it. Yeah. Huge plug for our support team. They're great. They will dig into all these details and help you troubleshoot. And sometimes they can refine the robot in a way that maybe you don't have access to, and then everything runs smoothly. So definitely reach out to our support team with more detailed questions or sign up for the office hours tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. If there's no more questions, let me look at the things people said they were unclear about in that question on registration. This is a great one for a more detailed webinar. How to scrape product variants, colors, sizes, etc. That is definitely more complex than what I showed here. Probably topic for a future webinar. Where to start? I'm just starting. The how-to mechanics of setup, integrations. We did cover lots of these things. Everything, all of it. Hopefully, anybody who said they're confused about everything or unclear about everything, hopefully I've helped to clear some of that up. And that one, let's look at comments. And if there's nothing else, I guess we'll wrap that one up. Give you some of your time back. Thanks everyone for showing up and for asking questions. And yep, keep an eye out for future webinars and also the office hours that will be coming up tomorrow and in future weeks if there's a demand for it. All right, see ya.